So I remade CSGO in 3D. Wait, isn't CSGO already a 3D game? Oh my gosh, wait guys, I got an idea. So I remade CS 2D in 3D. This challenge was in collaboration with Welton King and Timothy and Poinball in spirit. The last two couldn't join due to some scheduling issues, but they're here in spirit. So the plan was to recreate CS in one day using the Unity game engine. My goal for the end was to have all the basic mechanics, the bomb game mode, and some bots to play against. And I knew ahead of time the art wouldn't be the best in the world due to the extreme scope and the limitation of the time we had. So I started up around 11 AM, which was the first mistake I made. But on the first order of business we had to do was to get movement set up. I had a long and enduring self-battle the week leading up to this because I wanted to remake CSGO's movement to a T, but I knew I wouldn't have enough time to do every mechanic and spend an hour or two on the movement itself. So I settled with some nice basic movement and boom, it was kind of working. Well, after a bit of time actually, because I had a ton of trouble getting it to work with jumping and stuff, but we got it working. So after quickly getting the player to move, it was finally time to set up a basic weapon manager. I didn't realize how extensive the system would be, but it's just as complicated as the system in Windshire. So that wasn't very fun. This is the moment that actually hit me when I realized that these systems seem easy from the outside, but they actually take more than a day to make, which is kind of no bueno for me. So after making the basics of the weapon system, I actually needed some weapons, which is pretty surprising. So the first one that came to mind, and one of the most recognizable, is the AWP. Or AWP. So instead of modeling this up in Blender like a good professional developer, I was like, yo, Unity has blocks make gun, and that's how the AWP was made. And honestly, at first I was like, I'll just change it up later, but then I was like, yo, this kind of looks pretty cute, and I'm like, you know what, I kind of want to keep it. So that's how we ended up making our style for the project. So once the AWP was in the game, I was like, man, it really needs to go boom. So with some editing magic later, it was in. It honestly took me a bit because instead of taking it slow and making the firing then the reloading like normal people, I did them both at the same time to save some extra time. So that was pretty awful in hindsight, but who cares? A lot of my code during this entire project is duct taped and I just cross my fingers and I hope it works later, which is never a good practice. So don't do monkey see monkey do, don't do that, that's not a good idea. And to make the firing, I used a simple raycast system to have an accurate detection of where the player was hit, and it comes out of the forehead just like in the real game. But now the weapons were a tad too precise in my opinion. So I added a weapon spread variable and adjusted where the raycast would come out of every single time you fire to give it a bit of a weapon spread effect, which worked pretty well, but I would do it completely differently if I had another opportunity. Now, honestly, it felt a lot better, but like not really, because you can't really tell where the bullets are going because there's no visual indicators. So let's hop onto that next. After getting the mechanic for shooting and reloading in, I was like, dang, you should probably know when you need to reload. So I quickly slapped in some UI for the ammo counter. I plugged it back into my system and surprisingly it worked, which is really surprising. The other effect I wanted to add was a quick bullet trail effect, so you can tell where you're shooting. I didn't have a lot of time because I had about 5 other huge mechanics to add and time was ticking down. But thankfully I was able to implement the system relatively quickly and it was pretty fun to see where your bullets were going because they were completely random. But I was like, hey, just like in the real game. So after getting these awesome systems in, I really wanted to add in a fully automatic weapon. This took some refactoring to allow for both fully and semi-automatic weapons, but I got it after about 30 full minutes. It isn't the prettiest solution, but hey, it worked and that's all I really needed it to do. Then I got straight back to work modeling up the little AK with the same mentality I made with the AWP, that Unity has blocks and blocks go gun. And also, just for any legal reasons, this is not the AK at all, even though it might look like it. It's actually the not AK. Yeah, it's NOTAK, not the AK, right? So completely different weapons, just for legal reasons. And this was about the point that I kind of fell in love with my little trashy game. But hey, it was mine and I love my own trash. finally it was time to add in the bomb. Again, I slapped some more blocks together and made it somewhat look like a bomb and then started typing away. There were a few systems that go with the bomb system. The first one was to plant the bomb and get it on the ground. This wasn't too hard. With just a few trigger colliders near the bomb site and a simple timer and a UI element, I got the system working in about 15 to 20 minutes. But this was when I decided it was probably a good time to get some food. Remember, it's always important to eat when you're doing these types of jams. Well, I mean, it's kind of always important to eat, but you guys get the point. So after coming back an hour and a half later, I still had to make the other systems for the bomb. The next one I tackled was getting the bomb to be placed down, a timer running down, and the explosion happening. This was probably as hard as the other half because it was relatively the same. Just instantiate a planted bomb, have a countdown from that number, and then blow up and create, some pretty particles. And you may be wondering what system I used to make these particles. You guys wouldn't believe it. Well, there's this beautiful system in Unity called the Unity particle system, which allows you to create beautiful looking particle systems in Unity. What a surprise. So after tweaking some settings, I got some awesome looking particles set up and I attached them to the exploding bomb and called it a day. Wait, I can't really call it a day because I only have a day. You guys get the point. So after getting these systems to work together, I finally had a pretty cool bomb system that only took a few minutes. I'm just kidding. It took quite a bit of time. So yeah. So after the bomb, I realized that whoa, we really need a starter pistol. Cause CSGO has those things. And what is more recognizable than the Glock? Wait, I mean, not a Glock. Anyways, I also realized that if we have a semi-automatic weapon, we should probably have a time between bullets variable that we can control. So you can't just shoot an op as fast as you want, but there'll be an invisible timer in between shots since we don't really have any animations. So I finally set that all up and started getting the Glock into the game. So after making my third weapon for the game, I kind of realized, wow, I don't have any way of switching between the weapons. So after a small little panic, I got straight to work. It took me quite some time, but after looking over how I did it in Windshire, I had to rewrite some of my basic code in the equipment system that I did in the very beginning. Though this wasn't too much of a struggle, and thankfully I had it in and working, and honestly, it felt really cool to have all of these systems done in a matter of a day. So then I looked over and I saw that I had quite a bit of systems left to do, and honestly I didn't have that much time, so I better get to work. I still had the AI, the buy menu, and a whole game mode and a map to make before 12 AM the following day. So once figuring out everything I had to do, I got straight to work on the buy menu. I was actually kind of dreading this feature and almost decided to go with a normal list of sorts, but this was one system that was so iconic to CS that I just had to implement it how it was. In addition, this system I had to get some help from Google, but after some hard work I had the basic layout done and started on the implementation. This was the hardest part. I never have done a circular menu before, but I guess it was the best time to learn under such a time crunch. It took some time to get the layout clickable and such, but I finally had a menu that I was able to interact with. I duplicated the same buy menu 2 more times to have 3 in total and set up some events in the on-click function and made them enable and disable the other menus when clicking on them. And finally, I made a buy function which would allow you to purchase a weapon and it would subtract money from the player. With all of this set up, the last thing I had to do for the implementation wise was to link the buy function to the interactable system. Since I planned on not adding in more weapons, I just grayed out everything but the 2 weapons sections, the pistols and the rifles. With all of this set up, I gave it a go and thankfully it all worked together very nicely. Now you may be thinking, just make a map and you're good to go, but oh no, I still had to make a game mode. And it's already 9 PM. That means I have 3 hours left to add a game mode, AI, and make a map. So I guess I just really have to speedrun the rest of these systems. So now it was time for speed and accuracy. Haha, just kidding, what's accuracy? So I made a new script and just decided to program straight through it and not worry about if it's working or not. This ended up being a similar features to the battle circle, and most of the functions were just to add and remove points or players and things like that. So it wasn't too hard. Just with about an hour of straight development, I had the basics of the game mode all set up. I couldn't really test it, but I was really hoping it would work with no more troubles. The final thing I did was add in some more UI counters to the top of the screen to showcase the team score and a round end text which tells you which team won the round. So you know, pretty basic UI stuff. At this point, I was wondering why I even thought this would be a cool game to remake in one singular day, because my hands were sore from typing and I was stressed out because I had about an hour or so to make AI and a map, and also to make everything work together in one presentable package. So with all this fun stuff to do, I opened up the behavior tree, we agreed upon using utility assets so I'm not cheating, and got straight to work. This AI would be dummy stupid and it would always try to walk towards the player and fire at a certain distance. Though this caused some problems with the tree freezing up and such, I finally managed to fix it and get it all working in about 45 minutes, which leaves us about 15 whole minutes to make a map and connect everything together and make it work. With such a time crunch, I forgot to record myself making the map, but if you squint hard enough, you can kind of tell what I'm going for, which is the right part of Dust 2 with the double doors and the A bomb site with also the catwalk. Kind of. Very kind of. This isn't the best map, but it would have to do because it took me about 5 minutes to block it out and then another 5 minutes to set up the buy zones and the bomb site. And to make sure the player can recognize the bomb site, I put a big red box which looks really scary but interesting. Lastly, I put the players in the T and got the enemies to all spawn the CT spawn, and it kind of worked. Sort of. With the final minute, I tried building and I got a ton of errors thrown at me. I asked if it was cool if I fixed them all up, and Welton said it was completely fine. So it took me about an extra hour just to fix all those bugs that didn't let me build, and I finally got it out the door. Let's just call that extra hour the submission phase. So with the game finally built, I finally sent it over to the others to playtest, and though it might have some bugs and have some inconsistencies, they seem to enjoy the end product. It was extremely fun, and though it might have been a bit trashy, it's my own trash and I love it. If we can get enough support on this video, I'll make an itch page for it and I'll let you guys play it. It is pretty fun for the first few rounds, but it definitely needs some more polish, and I'm not sure if I'm willing to do that, but we will see. And before I end off this video, I challenge you guys to recreate your favorite games in one full day. It really shows what you need to work on and what you have a pretty good grasp over in game development. For me, it's definitely movement. I really struggle with making program movement, so I'll continue to work on that, and hopefully in the next challenge episode it will be much better. Also, go check out Welton King, TimothyMakesGames, and Poinball. All their links are down in the description below. They're amazing YouTubers and they have inspired me a ton to continue on Windshire, so I hope they do the same to you guys. And on that note, if you guys did enjoy this video, smash that like button and share this video. Also, don't forget to comment so this video can ride that YouTube algorithm, because apparently that helps. Anyways, I will catch you guys in the upcoming devlog, and goodbye.